Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at Earth and Sky, and each of you online. We always appreciate you coming and spending your morning with us. If you haven't already, please click the like button. Consider subscribing to our channel. Today I want to start a 4-part series where I'm going to be talking about the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Ruiz. It'll just be little small snippets that I want to discuss in a way that JJ and I have chosen to live our lives, and some things that I'd like you to consider. This is a book that I recommend to all of my shaman students to read, and I think it's a fantastic book for life. It may seem like very easy pointers to you, or it may seem like very hard concepts that maybe you haven't thought of yet. But the first one, the first agreement that we should have with ourselves, that we come into an awareness of within ourselves, is to be impeccable with your word. And this is something that can affect so many different parts of our life and who we are, what our character is, who we are acting as within our humanity as a soul in this life. Our words are so very, very, very powerful. Sometimes I will equate the fact that when you talk about writing and you're spelling out words, you're literally casting spells with your words. That's why they call it spelling. So it's important to be impeccable and to think of every word that you speak, both to yourself as well as to others, thinking of what am I creating? Because every thought that we have, we are creating with that. Kabbalistically, sometimes we will talk about how with every word we speak, we're creating angels. We're either creating light angels that will help us or dark angels that are not the direction we really want to go. And when you are impeccable with your word, you can start seeing that you can create incredible things to the point of creating heaven here on earth and having an amazing experience manifesting the life of your dream while living and uplifting others that are around you as well. There are many different creation stories, all the way from the apostolic religions to Zoroastrianism, where they reference the sound as the point of creation. A sound that was uttered, a word that was spoken in many different ways. How that created all that came to be, whatever your beliefs are. There's a relatively high chance that the path that you follow started with the sound of creation, creating the worlds that we are in now. And since we are all beings of divinity, we are all beings of light, when we are incredibly empowered with what we create in this world, when we recognize that it is our word and it is our thought that starts the ball rolling of creating everything in our life, it is an incredible power to begin to utilize and to recognize. Sometimes people will cast words without thinking at all, and they may say hurtful things or harmful things, not recognizing what a huge impact that is having, not only on themselves, but the person that they were saying it towards. When we start to recognize every single word that we speak, both to ourselves and also to others, is creating or destroying something, then we start to realize the power that we have within ourselves as beings of light that are here. Sometimes I like to think of it as planting seeds as well. Every word that you speak, it's as though you're planting seeds. Those seeds may come up as opinions or ideas or concepts, but there is a lot of power in that, because when you plant seeds, oftentimes those seeds will germinate and create things that you might not even be aware of. Perhaps you thought that you were planting one small plant with an idea that you said. Perhaps you were upset, say, with your daughter when your daughter came home, and maybe she was in a really good mood and she was singing, but you had a headache and you didn't feel good and you had a terrible day at work and you just were in a bad mood. And then as you were listening to her, it started grating on your nerves more. And this may be the person that you love the most, whether a daughter or significant other, but that energy, that essence within yourself just starts to get more and more frustrated, and it comes out as yelling at that daughter or the person, saying, you need to stop singing, you have a terrible voice, or why can't you just shut up, or something like that. And there's not a lot of thought that goes behind how will this impact that person. The thought is, how can I have peace within myself? How can I just get quiet here? And yet those are seeds that you just planted into that other person that can impact their self-identity, that can impact the way they feel about themselves. I had someone that I was speaking to recently that said they knew the moment that their eating disorder started because it was a day when they were about 12 years old and their father had come home and they were all sitting at the counter eating a meal or a snack or something, and the dad came by and said, oh wow, I see you're getting a little bit of extra around your midsection there. Immediately she went into anorexia. That lasted for about 20 years because she kept hearing that one comment that her father had said to her. She hadn't noticed it. She had never thought about having a belly herself. But that one thought created so much and sprouted so many seeds within herself that she believed that she was never attractive, and she believed that she wasn't worthy of eating food or bringing nutrition into her. We never know how just one comment that we feel maybe innocent can create mountains and gardens within other people, and we need to be aware of what we are creating. Are we creating beautiful gardens that sprout love, or are we casting curses with our words, in essence, creating things that are destructive and destroying, creating fear or hatred or anything that is just thoughtfully tossed out? Every single word that we speak has so much power, and when we learn to be impeccable with our word, when we learn to recognize before the words come out of our mouth, what do we really mean? If the word that I am about to speak to this person is something that they think about throughout the night, if the phrase that I'm about to say to this person may keep them up at night as they question and they turn over in themselves, what does this mean? How do I take it in? Am I comfortable saying that to them? Is that really what I want to meet? Is that really how I can uplift this person? Or is there another way that I can get my point across? Is there another way that I can create by sowing seeds of love instead, by saying seeds and words that are going to express, I have a headache, say, and I'm overwhelmed and I just want a little bit of quiet, instead of lashing out as it builds up. Instead, express what your needs are. Express to the person in that scenario of the daughter that was singing and a parent came home and was overwhelmed. And that person instead said, I have a headache and your voice is so beautiful and I love it when you sing, but I really need some quiet right now. Imagine how different that message can be brought forth. I think too often in our culture, we're told to not really express what our needs are or what it is that we really want, and we too often lash out at the other person. And that's one of those things that we can fix as we learn how to be impeccable with our word. Sometimes we use words to get attention, to grab somebody's attention and try to get them to listen to us because we may be exaggerating something and just trying to grab their attention to us. And sometimes those words can also be hurtful. There are sometimes I will hear people use the word that you are so stupid, or telling a child you're not very smart. I heard another story recently of somebody that wanted to go to Harvard, and her college admissions person, the person in high school, that was advising them said, oh, I don't think you're that smart. Maybe you should set your sights a little bit lower instead and be reasonable with what you think you can achieve. And that impacted her for quite a while until she realized how she could create her own words in her own head and pull into discovering how smart she was. And about 2 decades later, she did go to Harvard Harvard, and she did graduate, but she spent many years thinking that she was not as smart as her brother because the high school advisor said maybe she should not dream as big as that, and she should leave that to her brother to be the one that is smart in the family. Being impeccable with your words means really seeing what you think you may sometimes be saying to help the person. Are you wording that in a way that lifts them up, that gives them a solution, that helps them to see how they can achieve something? Sometimes, sure, we need to give advice to people or we want to help them, and there are hard things that we need to talk about, but we can do that in a way of thinking, what are the words that would be impeccable? What are the words that I could say that show that I care, that I love them, that I know that they are capable, and we can work towards whatever that solution is instead. Turning things to look at it from your own perspective. If you're going to have a hard conversation with them, think within yourself. If someone were saying this to me, how would I want this worded to me, and how would I feel with that? And that can help us as well to sow those seeds, to grow the seeds, to plant the seeds that are uplifting and helping, because simply avoiding the conversation sometimes isn't the answer either. We must use discernment. We must understand. We must recognize that everything you say to someone should reflect the light, and recognizing the light of their soul, seeing that it is not something that is just speaking envy or jealousy, not speaking words that are just filled with hate, because any of those are just poison. And when you speak words that are poison, you're actually poisoning yourself. You've heard us talk before about how we are all mirrors for each other. When you look at someone else and you hear them say something to you, and a lot of times we may take things personally in a certain way, but really we need to recognize that they are just mirrors for who we are. A lot of times the habits that drive us crazy in somebody are actually habits that we have ourselves. And sometimes I may tend to procrastinate a little bit, and I may get a little bit frustrated when people procrastinate, and then I remember that's because it's an issue that I have in myself, and I see that it is a mirror. And that same thing holds true with our words. When we speak to others, the words, the energy that we speak through our words, that is being reflected back to us. It is a mirror back to us. So recognizing the importance of not spreading fear, not spreading hate, not spreading gossip that creates jealousy or envy or simply for the sake of gossip. Instead, recognizing that we want to bring in light, recognizing how we can have these hard conversations and also see the light in the other person and speak words that bring up this light, words that are helpful to have the conversations that are harder and the conversations that challenge us. I think sometimes we need to be able to pull out of ourselves to see how others may have opinions vastly different from our own. And when we learn to listen with our heart and also speak through our heart, then we can find our common ground and find our commonality, recognizing the light within every other soul and that light that is within ourselves as well. What we say to ourselves is also something that hugely creates our entire lives. Sometimes I find in talking to people that the inner thoughts, the inner critic, the inner words can be so detrimental, and it is so important to raise up how you feel about yourself, who you are. If you are saying words to yourself, feeling like saying that I'm not worthy, I'm too fat, I'm lazy, I'm not smart enough, any of those things, start to recognize every time you have those thoughts. Certainly any time you say that out loud, and make an agreement with yourself that instead of believing those lies, that you are going to speak truth to yourself and to say to yourself, my soul is beautiful, my heart is full of love, I am ready to live. I am ready for the day ahead. I am ready to be present here. I am grateful for the things that I know. I'm grateful to know that I don't know everything, because that means there's more to learn. Finding ways to word things that is creative, that inspires, that uplifts, that brings up the light of your soul. Because guess what? When you feel comfortable in yourself, when you are happy in yourself, you are going to find it a lot easier to be more kind to others and to help others and to show them how to see that light within themselves. The journey starts within ourselves. And sometimes that is the hardest part, taking that step to knowing you are worthy and you are here for a reason, and your soul is truly beautiful, and you are worthy of bringing in this light into yourself. Learning to be impeccable with your words, learning to be impeccable with your thoughts, because the words you say to yourself create who you are, and we can recreate ourselves every single day. Sometimes people will take a large moment in life to recreate themselves. Maybe they're moving, making a big move to a whole new neighborhood. And so they can take a minute to look and see, who am I? How do I want to be treated? How do I want to treat others? Because you break the grips of how others anticipate treating you. And they will sometimes do a similar thing when they say get a divorce, because we teach people how to treat us by the words that we speak to ourselves and the words that we speak to them as well. So sometimes it will be something major like a divorce, and then people will think, I'm recreating myself, I'm redesigning who I will be, who I want in my life, how I want to be treated. But guess what? You don't have to have those massive changing events to be able to recreate who you are. It starts with a choice. It starts with a word. It starts with being impeccable in choosing what you say to yourself, in choosing what you create in your life, and in choosing what words you speak, because every word you speak, you are casting spells that are creating or destroying every single word. And so think within yourself, how can I be impeccable? How can I say the things that matter? How can I say the things that I need to speak, and speak it with love, and speak it in a way that lifts that person up and that also does justice with yourself? Speaking love to yourself, speaking love to your others, casts spells of love that encourages life. I find often people think that their biggest fear is death, but their biggest fear really isn't death. Their biggest fear is life. Their biggest fear is choosing to live, choosing to be authentic, choosing to live as who they really are. And when you start to be impeccable with your word, automatically you begin choosing light. You begin discovering who you are, and you begin creating a radiance that creates a life of love that you then live. Only you can be impeccable with your word. No one can force you to, and it doesn't mean that it will come very easy right at first. It takes training, it's redirecting, it's relearning how to choose and think before you speak, and how to choose and shift your own inner thoughts. Be impeccable with your words so that you nurture. So you nurture yourself. So you nurture others, and so you inspire them to be the best that they possibly can be as well. So that you can be the best that you can be. Replace fear with love. Wherever there is any fear in your life, wherever there is any fear in your thoughts, wherever there is any thought of fear or feeling of fear, replace it with love, because the opposite of fear is love. The opposite of hate is love. The opposite of negativity in any form is love. The source that we all come from is the light of love. And when we create with that, we are able to recreate ourselves every moment in magnificent ways. And we can recreate this entire world. We can create heaven on earth here and enjoy the experience that we have here. Learning to be impeccable with your word can be a journey. And it can be a journey that is epic and filled with magnificent things as you learn to create every day, every moment. So think about how you can be impeccable with your word. What words can you speak to inspire each of those that are closest to you? Think of every single person in your home right now. What are 3 words that you can speak that would encourage, inspire, and show them that they are loved? What 3 words can you speak to yourself to remember that you are worthy? You are here for a reason, and you too are made of love and here and filled and worthy of love. I hope this gives you some good food for thought for today, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. If you haven't already, please check out our website, earthandskyscenter.com. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and then hit the bell button to choose how many notifications you would like to receive. Thank you. Have a great week, everyone.